rush of angels' wings, see glory on each face. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. Surely the presence of God's love is in this place.
Good morning. Welcome to Sunday service at Everett Unity. Let's start with a reading from our daily word. Sunday, March 23rd. Today, we will view the world through eyes of joy. This mindful practice will make even the most ordinary things seem special, and the things we may have taken for granted seem fresh and new. Even the energy we bring to our relationships will be imbued with harmony and peace. We will feel lighter, kinder, and more connected to the people in our lives when we commit to living with joy, with joyful intention. Moments of frustration, disagreements with others, and disappointments may disturb our equilibrium for a time, but they will not rob us of our joy. We honor God each time we share our joy. As we bless ourselves by feeling joyful, we bring more love, more peace, and more happiness to the world. The scripture today from Psalms chapter 118, verse 24. This is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. Our opening statement, joy fills my heart and warms my soul. Let's repeat that together. Joy fills my heart and warms my soul. All right. Well, our wonderful musicians are going to lead us in our opening song now.
Many of you know this. Many of you will know this by the time we get done. I'm going down to the river to pray, thinking about that good old way. And who shall wear the starry crown, O Lord? Show us the way. Come on, brothers, let's go down. Come on down, let's go down. Sisters, come on, sisters, let's go down, down to the river to pray. Sing that, down to the river to pray. Down to the river to pray. Again. Down to the river to pray. I'm going down to the river to pray, thinking about that good old way. And who shall wear the starry crown, O Lord? Show us the way. Come on, brothers. Come on, brothers, let's go down. Come on down, let's go down. Come on, sisters, let's go down, down to the river to pray. Down to the river to pray. Come on, brothers, let's go down. Come on, brothers, let's go down. Come on down. Come on down. Let's go down. Sisters, come on, sisters, let's go down. Down to the river to pray. Down to the river to pray. river to praise. Good job.
Well, good morning and welcome again to Everett Unity. I'd like to introduce you to the people who are most visibly serving you today. You are greeted by our ushers, Mary and Randy. Our social hour is being hosted by Yvonne, Paula, and Cheryl. Audio-video support's being provided by Walter and Dennis. Of course, you've had a chance to hear our wonderful musicians, Sally, Doug, and Richard. My name is Cindy, and Doug Benecke is back with us to be our guest speaker this morning. Welcome, Doug.
Thank you. Oh, you are a teacup.
That's a good sign.
Yeah.
It's a good sign.
Let's just skip it. The reviews are positive so far.
So far, so good. I'd like to remind you, if you brought your cell phone in, please turn that off so we can have a nice quiet meditation here in a moment. And oops. Musicians, please turn your cell phones off. I remember a talk, Doug, where you had your cell phone, you answered your cell phone on purpose.
Yeah.
I remember that.
That was a gimmick.
That was a bit.
Yeah.
He did a bit. Well, I do have a few announcements I'd like to share with you. Remember, we do have our Applebee's breakfast coming up on Saturday, April 5th. From 9 to 11 out at the Applebee's on Everett Mall Way. Tickets are available now. They're $12 a piece. We'd love to have you come and join us. We do have an exciting announcement that afternoon, later that morning, I should say. At 11 o'clock that morning, come for breakfast early, gentlemen. Come back to the church at 11. Skeet, would you stand up, raise your hand so people know who you are? Skeet has taken the lead of our amazing Unity Women's Group and has decided that he and several of the wonderful gentlemen in our community are going to start their own fellowship and spiritual sharing time. It's going to be the first Saturday of every month at 9 a.m., except for the first Saturday in April, which will be at 11, because you're going to come and have breakfast first, and then come for fellowship at 11 o'clock downstairs. You don't have to be a Unity member to come and participate, and there's a sign-up sheet downstairs, so if you'd like to join them, I think that's really great. I'm excited to have the men's group finally reestablished. Back in the day, many of you may remember, we used to have a thriving men's group, so that'll be wonderful to have you back. And then, of course, our women's group meets the fourth Tuesday of the month at 6 o'clock. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. 6? Yes, 6 to 8 p.m. All of you are welcome to attend. The way it works in the women's group, someone signs up to bring food, and then there's a whole wonderful program of meditation and lesson and spiritual enrichment. We'd love to have you come and join us there. And then I am so excited. I've got my hands on Brown Bear Car Wash tickets. Do you guys use Brown Bear Car Wash? I'm very excited. $12, save you $1 from a basic car wash down at Brown Bear. I have them available, $12 a piece. You can buy as many as your little heart desires. So I'll have those available for you during social hour today. And I think that's about it. So time to sing again. Let's sing again.
Yeah.
Sounds very good. This is really participatory. How about that? And it's a song you've sung many a time in church here. And once we all get the groove, we're going to divide in half and do it as a round. I'm just warning you, if you want to leave the room now would be your chance. And it goes like this. You can repeat after me for this part. Love, 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 love.
Love, 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 love.
Gospel in one word is love.
The gospel in one word is love.
Very good. Love thy neighbor as thyself.
Love thy neighbor as thyself.
And love say this all the time in our communities of faith, that love is the biggest thing, that we're going to love no matter what. Love thy neighbor as thyself. That's a pretty big request, because you can pick your friends, but you can't pick your neighbors, right? And maybe they don't eat like you, they don't dress like you, they don't even speak the same language, they don't practice the same faiths, and sometimes they put up really weird signs on their lawn that you wonder about. But that's the commandment. We're going to sing this again. Let's try it all together this time. Love, 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 love. Gospel in one word is love. Love thy neighbor as thyself. And love, love, love. One more time. Love, 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 love. The gospel in one word is love. Love thy neighbor as thyself. And love, love, love. Excellent.
Duality out of unity. Is that appropriate? I think we're saying it's time for the meditation, huh? Is that right? Yeah. People are looking meditative. So, sweetie, if you would help with music for this.
Oh, I'm shy.
Yeah, I know. You're so shy. I feel overwhelmed by the volume of this mic. If maybe we could just trim it a bit.
I'll take all of his extra.
Please let us take these next few moments together. These precious, irreplaceable moments in our lives. To breathe deeply, consciously. To sit in a relaxed manner. And to feel that each inward breath is a connection drawing in the light and love and joy of God, of Spirit. releasing on each outward breath all that we've held on to. Allowing the spirit of life, of spring, of divine love to enter our hearts, to open our hearts. Breath by breath, Father, Mother, God, I open myself to your spirit, to your wisdom, to your enveloping love. Let us just take some moments opening to that love and joy, opening to that mystery without any narrative. We just allow ourselves to be like spring flowers awaiting the next rain, a rain of love for us.
It's an idea whose time has come. New generation decides as one.
Of the same small planet
We are born. It's never been so obvious before.
'Cause we breathe the same air, drink the same water, walk the same earth, kiss the same sky. We breathe the same air, and I think we ought to get along better, you and I.
The future of history is crystal clear. The borders between us shall disappear.
Of the same small planet we are born.
No, there's no foreign country anymore.
'Cause we breathe the same air, drink the same water, walk the same earth, kiss the same sky. We breathe the same air, and I think we ought to get along better, you and I.
You and
I.
Now some say that I'm out of touch with the times, that this world's no place for a vision like mine, but still I can see it, and still I believe it, 'cause there's
Too many lives on the line, so many lives on the line. 'Cause we breathe the same air, drink the same water, walk the same earth, kiss the same sky. We breathe the same air, and I think we ought to get along better, you and I.
you and I, you and I.
It's lovely to share that beautiful song by Daniel Nahmod and in Sal's arrangement, and to see our friends in the congregation, many people singing that song. It's never been taught, but even Cindy singing along. Beautiful. So we're really happy to be here again. Thank you for having us. It was only last month in February, or as the Anglo-Saxons called it, if you translate, Mud Month, which we've sort of returned to recently, yeah.
Yeah, right?
Only last month I shared in my talk a significant event from my life at age 19, and I find I'm about to revisit that time again. Now, maybe this is an effort, conscious, or perhaps like so many things, somewhat unconscious, to redo my 20s and get it right this time. Anybody feel like they would love to redo their 20s and get it right?
I ain't going back there for no man.
She's not going back.
Not doing it.
So I want to mention that sometime around my 20th year, I was wandering about in my college's citadel of scholarship, Mudd Library. I know that sounds strange, but some donor, M-U-D-D. And I stumbled on a book of photographs and brief essays titled A Hidden Wholeness, the Visual World of Thomas Merton. For he was a photographer and did drawings in addition to being this writer and this amazing monk. Now, here I was, a fledgling religion major, and I had not yet heard of this world-famous monk and scholar who had friendships with figures as diverse as Martin Luther King Jr., D.T. Suzuki, Thich Nhat Hanh, and the Dalai Lama, and who resided in a hermitage only one state away from me at that time. I was smitten. Merton had become a monk in 1941, living in Kentucky in the Cistercian Abbey of Our Lady of Gethsemane until his death in 1968. And in 1965, he received the permission he'd long sought from his order to live as a hermit in a cabin in the monastery's forest. Around the time I happened on Merton, I was feeling uncomfortable in my own skin, as many 20-year-olds will tend to feel. Fretting about, and 68-year-olds too, fretting about how I was going to get by in this prickly world, and beginning to think that I too should become a hermit, living a secluded life. I figured I could spend my time writing poems and smoking copious amounts of sacred herbs. Well, maybe one particular one. That was my thinking, if you can dignify it by that name. But of course, I was not truly called to become a hermit. one who retreats from the world not out of fear or avoidance, but in order to more completely embrace God. I don't know if I'll ever have that vocation. Merton, as a hermit, remained connected to his faith and his faith community, going to the monastery for worship and to give instruction to novices. But as he later wrote, in the monastery I have duties, obligations, since here I am a monk. When I've accomplished these, I return to the woods, where I am nobody. Ram Dass had an old lesson that he would teach about how through life we try to figure out who we are. He said, that's going into somebody training. This is who I am, this is who you are, this is who I am, this is who you are. He said later in life, on a spiritual path, you may have the opportunity to go into nobody training, to let go of so much of your identity. This is what Merton was doing. So becoming a hermit is a very high art indeed. It's an attainment not of the ego, but of the soul, an achievement of ego extinction, this becoming nobody. I did not become a hermit. I've realized since that I became instead a hermit crab. Now, I don't mean I somehow developed into an anamoran decapod crustacean of the superfamily Pagoroidea, using a scavenged mollusk shell to protect my fragile exoskeleton. I realize that's what you were probably thinking. But I did retreat into a shell of sorts, away from significant friendships and meaningful work, in an effort to protect my fragile ego skeleton. And a song I wrote at that time had the repeated chorus, I think I'll go in hiding, hiding away. What more evidence do we want? I'm telling you all this because what I'm talking about today is how we encounter God, not in retreat from the world and from relationships, but in engagement with all we encounter. Case in point, recently when discouraged about writing a talk, this very talk, it turns out because I have a relationship with someone who knows me well, they said, it will come. You often feel discouraged like this and suggested a path forward. Yeah, I think it was, so you don't know them actually. They suggested a different approach to how I could go about working on the talk. And I followed her advice, thank you, hon. And later that morning, stopping to buy food, when a checker asked me the question she surely asks everyone, so how's your day going? I said, better. Empathy and communication really help. Her face brightened with not just a cashier smile, but a genuine smile. And she said, totally, and compassion and hope. It was such a nice moment between two souls, variously costumed in bodies, clothes, we both had those, jewelry and tattoos, those were on the other side, but connecting in unity around our shared experience. And I left that place with hope in my heart and talk ideas bubbling through my mind. When we're in fear, anxiety, the brain doesn't really work properly. And the fear had been dispersed by a connection of love, first from my beloved and then from someone in the world who shared with me on a deep level. And the fear that was blocking a talk idea vanished. As Albert Schweitzer, the great humanitarian born 150 years ago, once wrote, "Sometimes our light goes out but is blown again into flame by an encounter with another human being. Each of us owes the deepest thanks to those who have rekindled this inner light." So thank you, Sarah, most compassionate Trader Joe's cashier, for your light and the rekindling. Unity's third principle says we create our life experiences through our way of thinking. Or in another version, for there is no one right way to say these things, we are co-creators with God, shaping our world through thoughts held in mind. To all of which I would like to humbly suggest the following corollary. Because God is not a remote deity out there somewhere, but is a divine essence embodied in you, in me even, in our pets, in the birds in the forest, in our microbiomes, in all of creation. Because of this, what may have the most impact on each of us is the God we experience when we engage in true communion with another soul, when another's light rekindles our own. For most of us, God is not found in the process of living as a hermit, and certainly not as a hermit crab, but in daily engagement with those we encounter. It's why I feel so privileged to speak to you about these concerns of the heart and soul. As Schweitzer once wrote, he felt it as something wonderful that I was allowed to address a congregation about the deepest questions of life. It's why when the veil is lifted, I see God in the person who checks my groceries or tows my car, should that come about, in the patient who shares honestly about her daily struggles or moments of success. And when I'm really in tune with this God vision, I see God in anyone I pass in a crowded store or sidewalk or hallway. Heads are nodding. God's nodding to me out there. God is manifest in you as in me. God was not incarnated once and once only in Yeshua of Nazareth, but when each of us came into the world as well. A decade ago, Sally made a month-long walk around our beautiful Olympic Peninsula.
Now, some of you all remember that.
Yeah, some folks might remember when she did
had
that.
A nice sharing about that. I haven't forgotten that ever. It was wonderful.
So she was engaged in raising awareness and protesting about military jets that were doing training maneuvers above towns and wild places throughout the entire peninsular area, disquieting machines that terrify wild animals and create harmful, high decibel conditions for all in their flight path. Because she got some publicity through old media like the Port Townsend Leader and Peninsula Daily News, and through social media, we found that she drew support. People housed her, gave her meals, walked with her in some instances. Sometimes they would just pull off the highway and say, "Are you Sally?
For real.
And would you like a place to stay tonight?" Each weekend, I'd drive out to wherever she journeyed to, spending a couple of nights with her and then departing. It's not easy to leave one's mate by the side of the highway, dressed in pink and carrying a guitar and an earth flag. I'll tell you that right now. And you should have seen what she was wearing. But she had a mission, touching minds and souls, doing her part to rekindle the inner light of those she encountered. And she made friends as she walked along that highway, as she invariably does, as we all may in our travels if we're not hermits or hermit crabs. People showed up, and the highway she walked became a highway of connection and love, in addition to one of sore feet that trod many tired miles and wore out 3 pairs of shoes. Now, social and political conditions in our country and in the world as a whole have not undergone radical and miraculous improvement since Sally made her walk. I thought I'd mention that in case you hadn't noticed. But this is not to say that we should abandon efforts we might make to create our world through thoughts held in mind. It is to recognize that virtuous and compassionate individuals engage in what now seems to me like a perennial struggle against darker forces. In 1959, Thomas Merton, whom I mentioned earlier, wrote to Ernesto Cardenal, a former brother at the Gethsemani Monastery, who had moved to Nicaragua and had become a leader in liberation theology. And Merton wrote, "The world is full of great criminals with enormous power, and they are in a death struggle with each other. It is a huge gang battle using well-meaning lawyers and policemen and clergymen as their front, controlling papers, means of communication, and enrolling everybody in their armies." These are harsh words, but written a long time ago. It's easy to think that these words from 1959 could have been written today, on a globe where autocrats hold power and where there are threats to fundamental values of democracy, compassion, human rights. America, long holding a credible claim to being on the right side of history, perhaps can justifiably be said to no longer support the values I've just enumerated, at least not at the highest levels of government. This is a heartbreaking situation for so many. What are we to do in alignment with our spiritual principles? Knowledge is not enough. We must live our truth. What action may we take? Part 2 will be next time. No. Yeah, big old cliffhanger. I mean, this is serious stuff, folks, right? Here's what I came to. Drawing on ideas from today's talk, I suggest there are perhaps 3 choices. Any of us could follow the eremitical tradition. That's the adjective form of hermit. Vocabulary builder. Withdrawing from the world to become a hermit. Living a life of asceticism, seclusion, and prayer. As I mentioned, I'd thought about this idea as a young man, but not seriously, and really out of fear, which is not the genuine starting place for the hermit's path. And it would seem that very few of us truly have that vocation. Another popular choice would be that of the hermit crab. On this well-trodden path, many Americans, I believe, and I'm sorry to say, withdraw from engagement with serious issues into a shell of self-indulgence, basking in our copious privileges, safe lives, abundant Netflix, plenty of chips, coffee, ice cream, and beer, sometimes all at the same time. The world may well go to hell in a handbasket, we say, but the hurt isn't going to happen to me, not in my demographic, in my town, on my street, at my home, until, of course, it does. And clearly, this approach will work for us only so long as we ignore Martin Luther King's words. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Now, I feel if you're listening today, here in this room or online, it's most likely you would opt for neither of the first two choices, hermit or hermit crab. The third way, an alternative to either a spiritual or self-indulgent turning away from world issues, is one of engagement from a higher place. Perhaps we could call this approach that of freedom's highway, where we openly meet, dialogue, and journey with friends from all across this small, precious, imperiled planet. On this path of spiritual communing, we take stock of a troubled world, viewing it with an open-eyed, though perhaps tearful gaze, and pledge that we will be part of the solution of love, of hope, of engagement, of community, no matter what inequities may transpire on the world stage. With our feet on this road, we vow to be counted among those who help, those who heal, those who give succor in a broken world of straitened circumstance and reduced choice. It's the path our good Dr. Schweitzer took. And you know, it's his sesquicentennial, so I talk about him every time I talk. He wrote tirelessly to contacts all over the world, and coming together in the early 1950s with allies like Albert Einstein and Bertrand Russell, they protested against nuclear weapons and tests. I'll lighten it up by telling you a Schweitzer story. He traveled to the U.S. in the late 1940s, and he was on a train, and someone came up and said, "Dr. Einstein, I've always wanted to meet you. Could I have your autograph?" And he said, "I am good friends with Dr. Einstein, and we share the same first name, and I would be happy." And he wrote, "Albert Einstein, signed by his dear friend Albert Schweitzer." In a 1957 speech on Radio Oslo, I believe he was there accepting the Nobel Peace Prize, and he was asked to give a talk on the radio. Schweitzer said the end of further experiments with atom bombs would be like the early sun rays of hope, which suffering humanity is longing for. And then in March of 1959, he wrote in a letter to a youth leader in Germany, "If mankind is not to perish after all the dreadful things it has done and gone through, then a new spirit must emerge. And this new spirit is coming not with a roar, but with a quiet birth, not with grand measures and words, but with an imperceptible change in the atmosphere. a change in which each of us is participating and which each of us regards as a quiet boon. Become quiet, capable, kind-hearted people, he wrote, striving for the spiritual piety to which Jesus' words show the way. The demands of a spiritual path are many. And in his letters, Schweitzer repeatedly expressed his weariness from the tremendous workload he shouldered year after year. He also always complained about writer's cramp because he refused to dictate or use a typewriter and wrote all his books and letters longhand. In 1946, he wrote to one of his biographers, Dr. George Seaver, "I thank God who has given me the health and strength to live this life in such an onerous climate and with so many demands constantly being made on me from all sides. I am sustained by the knowledge that I am granted the privilege of devoting myself to suffering people, and also by the thought of noble-minded friends who enable me to continue my work. The privilege of devoting ourselves to those who suffer. This may be our privilege as well, if we choose it. There is no shortage of opportunity in the world today, and I'm confident in predicting that those opportunities will not be sold out by tomorrow. We will always find those places where we can help and give and serve. But we would do well also to remember Schweitzer's advice to those who saw something heroic in his model and wished to emulate him. I want to come down to the jungle hospital and help. He wrote, only a person who can find a value in every sort of activity and can devote himself to each one with full consciousness of duty has the inward right to undertake some out-of-the-ordinary activity, instead of that which falls naturally to his lot. And I want to acknowledge the gendered language. This is just the translation of what this guy actually wrote. We can only continue in our work, humble though it may be, as a part of the new spirit that will yet sustain love and heal this world. I believe this. When we too are part of a company, a community, a communion of the Spirit. So no matter what transpires, let us join together in spiritual alliance with one another. Let us continue to find ways to connect, serve, and heal those whose hearts are breaking. Let us turn to prayer, to meditation, to spiritual community, and to laughter as well, to nourish our spirits for all we face on difficult days. These are troubling times indeed. But let us walk on in fellowship and service, relighting the spiritual flame of those we meet on freedom's highway, this road of love and compassion where all may travel together. Thank you. Thank you.
Wow, thank you, Doug. Here's a little goodie that some of you have heard, and you can just repeat after me. It's a positive affirmation, unlike most that you might hear. I am like the wind. Try that.
I am like the wind.
Nothing can hold me.
Nothing can hold me.
I belong to everyone.
I belong to everyone.
No one can own me.
No one can own me.
The whole world is my home.
The whole world is my home.
All are my family.
All are my family.
I live in every heart. I live in every heart. I will never leave thee.
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 I will never leave thee. Right back at ya.
Well, Doug, thank you. Would have been a shame for us to not get to hear that talk, wouldn't it? Someone told me one time, if you're lonely or you're scared or you're worried, figure out how to be of service. Figure out how to do something for someone else. Get out of your house, get out of your mind, get out and do something to be of service to someone else. It changes everything. Thank you. Thank you, Doug. All right. Well, now it is time to bless our offering and thank our Creator for the many blessings that we have been given and affirm our gratitude. So let's start by affirming the truth about ourselves. And this is how it goes. I look around. Most of you know this. I see some new faces, so we'll go over it again. My name is, and you use your name, and I am prosperous, always and in all ways. So let's say that together. My name is, and I am prosperous, always and in all ways. Always meaning forever and ever, contrary to what you may see, forever and ever, and always as in all forms. So let's take our offering now. You can hold it next to your heart, literally or figuratively, and think about that prosperity. Think about that gift that we have to be in this moment where we are together. It's no accident that we are here together in this moment. In this time in world history, we are the ones made for this moment. Let's bless our offering together. Divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I share, and all that I receive. Thank you, Mother God. Amen.
That talk is still resonating, my Lord. Thank you, Doug. Wow. Here's something from Arlo Guthrie. And it follows in the great tradition of, oh, that's true. Follows in the great tradition of spreading news, telling a story, and teaching something. And remember, before the printed word, before anybody could really read much, in society, it was those dang musicians who used to come and go, come to town, and start singing you the news, and telling stories, and teaching. So here's a little something from Arlo. In times like these, when night surrounds me, and I am weary, and my heart is worn, and the songs they're singing, they don't mean nothing, just cheap refrains playing on and on. Well, the storm is here, lightning flashes between commercials, they're taking names, people run to where they think the cash is, just another link in slavery's chain. I see the storm clouds rise above me.
Above
Sky
me,
is dark,
sky is dark,
and the night is come.
and the night is come. I walk alone along this highway where strangers gather one by one.
When leaders profit from deep division and the tears of friends remain unsung, in times like this, it's good to remember these times will go in the days to come. I know the storm will
Clouds
be over.
over,
Howling winds will cease to be. I walk with friends from every nation on freedom's highway in times like these. I walk with friends from every nation
on freedom's highway
in
times like these. I hear that. For all the gifts that are given moment by moment in our communion, our community, our smiles, our hugs, and in material ways as well. For this time we get to spend together. We are ever so grateful. Amen.
Thank you, Doug and Sally and Richard. Thank all of you for being here. It's been a wonderful Sunday morning. I would like to remind those of you who have not yet had a chance to come down and look at the Easter basket display. It's at the south end of the social hall. Check that out. We're going to be putting together some Easter baskets. See how you might be able to help if you are interested. Remember, Tuesday night is women's group at 6 o'clock. Remember, our men's group starts on April 5th at 11 a.m. Applebee's on April 5th at 9 a.m. Skeet. Yep, sign-up sheet downstairs for the men's group. So let's welcome our kids in, and we will circle the room, say our prayer of protection, and sing the peace song. Our prayer of protection. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.